This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. All good. All right. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. As always, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. We do have a quorum. We understand Jim's just running a couple minutes behind. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda?
Sir, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody? What would you all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, public comment. Public comment. Nothing back there. Well, you're now filled. Yeah, well, how'd your event go over the weekend? Yeah, good. How many people attended? Great. Are we bigger than Montpelier now? Yeah, all right, there you go. Congratulations.
They got
Jerry.
nothing on us, huh?
All right. Is anybody watching us? Hello, Jim. No, not at all. Do they have public comment? None at this time. All right, moving on. Consent agenda. We have minutes from 4/11/2023. Anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts, motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No special appearances. Let's go straight to the public hearings. Mr. Weekly, administrative fees.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, you have two public hearings scheduled tonight. As just stated, the first one would be for administrative fees. The Board of Supervisors approves these each year. My apologies, next year we will consolidate to get everything wrapped around the budget for the public hearing, so you're doing it all at once. Basically, the only change is, in speaking with our building official, is around the mechanical and plumbing permits. There were some flat fees. They wanted to be consistent. Some of our other disciplines, such as electrical upgrades, were per square footage. So they've made some adjustments or recommendations from mechanical and plumbing to mirror that. As you recall, you all reviewed these back during your budget work session. At that time, it was said to go ahead and move forward with advertising and scheduling the public hearing, which is why we're here tonight. Those were the only changes made, except for one addition to the exemption. As you know, when permits and things are pulled, or some of the fees, basically, the exemption list currently is the Madison County School Board, Parks and Rec Authority, and Madison County Fair. It was requested in here to add the Madison County Volunteer Fire Department. I would fully support that. It just makes sense. So those are the three changes, members of the board. That's in the administrative fees. The other fees are standard fees, whether it's dog license, all the other fees in the county. But the three just listed were the only changes within the administrative fees.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the administrative fees? Anyone? Mr. Gregg, you have anything to say? Mr. Daniels? Anything to say? Good to see you as well. All right. Open the public hearing on administrative fees to the public. The number's going down, Jerry. To the public. All right, public hearing is closed for administrative fees. We do have a resolution 2023-3, a resolution adopting Madison County fees for 2024 and thereafter unless and until changed. Anybody have any comments, thoughts on this one? What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2023-3, adopting the Madison County fees for FY '24.
Second. Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, public hearing for calendar year 23, tax rate. Mr. Weekly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Historically, you all have approved or set the tax rate. Of course, public hearing is required before that via ordinance. Last year, there was no changes. We did it via resolution. After looking back at several budget cycles, it made sense to go back to the ordinance. We did pick up from the last public hearing and approval back in August of last year when forestry harvesting equipment was added. We did an ordinance by that time. So basically, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and general public, the tax rate ordinance you have before you and what was advertised represents no changes to any tax rates. So those remain the same. However, you do need to have an ordinance in place if you choose to pass the night, which would set the rate for calendar year. And I know it sounds retroactive, but for calendar year 2023. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions on this? All right. To the public. To the public on the calendar year 23 tax rate.
Good evening, all. I'm Kevin McCaney, Madison County resident, and I just want to take a minute to thank the Board of Supervisors for all their work and all their efforts to be able to maintain the tax rate for a couple years in a row. I guess y'all maybe understand when you don't have a lot of people in here hooting and hollering and screaming that they're happy, but I want to just make a point of saying that I am happy and I appreciate all the work that y'all do. Thank you.
Other public comment. Mr. Mitch, you have public comment on the tax rate? Yeah, you can still make a comment. Heck. Well, good. Anyone else? Anybody online, Alan? All right, public comment or public hearing is closed on the calendar year 23 tax rate. We do have ordinance 2023-1. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt ordinance 2023-1 as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you all. Old business, the sign ordinance. Mr. Weekly?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gregg. I know last time there was some discussion of cooperation between Mr. Gregg's office as well as the registrar.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, I believe we have an agreement as to the ordinance. It's just now a matter of simply advertising it. Just the highlights of it are making sure that it's content neutral so that it does not adversely impact political speech. We've taken care of that. We've talked, and this isn't really part of the ordinance. It's just what we're going to start doing. We're going to start publishing a larger sample ballot so that we can have that in advance so that if people are coming here to vote, they know what they're actually voting for and all of those things. And then it's just a matter of advertising. You'll recall that the one wrinkle in it is the Craigville school property, because that is a voting precinct. All of our other voting precincts are private property. something we might consider moving forward is including those leases of that property, a license to allow candidates to post political signage. Now, as a practical matter, they've been doing that for years and no one's complained about it. So it could be a problem that doesn't really exist. But we can start the advertising and pass it, I guess, 2 meetings from now.
I recommend you want to shoot for the 23rd to give us some advertising. We have a public hearing for your VDOT secondary 6-year road plan on the 9th. I don't know if we'll have probably the 23rd.
The 23rd would
Give us plenty of time. So 23rd is your 6 p.m. meeting.
And we need to advertise this for 2 weeks. Just a heads up, the legislature is apparently improving our advertising statutes. So right now, among the local government attorneys of Virginia, there's lots of questions about what it all actually means. They've got a proposal now. It can't be advertised too late. I mean, it's got to be within 7 or 14 days. It doesn't go into effect until July 1st. So we'll get this taken care of.
When you say improving, do you mean improving, confusing, or making it harder to advertise?
One of the qualifications for this job is a healthy element of sarcasm.
Yeah, there you go. Good, good.
I would say that with that in mind, and tongue firmly planted in cheek, they are improving.
Fantastic. Oh, good. Anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts on the sign ordinance?
Mr. Chairman, just one question addressed to Mr. Gregg. With regard to the new statutes coming out from the General Assembly on public notification, have they made changes that will allow these notifications to be made through online platforms?
I have not focused on that. I have not seen any objections to it. My sense is that they have not, just because I would have expected there to be more traffic on that. But I will certainly check that and give a report at our next meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do y'all want to proceed with the recommendation to go to advertise and then have a public hearing on May 23rd?
Yes.
Let's do that. All right. New business. The FY 2024 budget adoption resolution. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, sir. In your packet is included the budget message. It's kind of the transmittal letter, if you will. I know the budget process is very lengthy, but I would also echo Mr. McHaney's comments. I know it's a rigorous process, but you all went through it very thoroughly and efficiently. So the budget transmittal letter is really a summary and kind of a synopsis, as it said there, of what's in the funding. I'd be happy to go through that, Mr. Chairman, unless you want me to go with brevity, and we'll go with the condensed version.
Yeah. Is everybody fine with condensed?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go condensed.
So basically, always your largest funding sectors will be public safety and education. So you have adequate funding there. Capital expenditures, you're committing a little over $8 million. I think that is significant. It should let the general public see that you maintain facilities and are making investments such as the public safety radio. That alone was a multi-million-dollar project that you all are continuously working on. So balanced budget, even though Richmond hasn't finalized their budget yet. I'm hearing they're going to reconvene sometime in June. However, we cannot wait till June. Outside agencies, as far as funding there, your largest increase was for the Rappahannock Juvenile Detention Center. I think I stated in the past, we looked at historical true-ups, and that's really in line with past years that we've seen. Let me go down a little further here. Sorry, my screen's loading a little slow. In your contingency breakout, and I want to give kudos and recognize Ms. Warren, who's really drilled into the numbers and made this flow and put together some nice summary. In your contingency, $314,000 is set aside for general fund contingency. That's kind of that 1% threshold per financial policies. There's the additional 1% that the board agreed to for contingency set aside for school funds. Should there be any unexpected cost, that still has to come to the board. All contingency funds are approved, so this money does not go over July 1. And then an additional just under 23,000 to cover accumulated leave. Capital breakdown, your key areas, public safety radio, broadband is a huge initiative, although we're still trying to chase things down, whether it's the next VATI grant or what have you. But you should start seeing some progress this year in broadband deployment in the county. ERP, we expect wrapping that up this year. So there's some monies left over for that. County reassessment will start this year. We appreciate the commissioner's lead on that and working with the group to establish the RFP. That's due May 8th. We'll be reviewing proposals. The EMS station renovation, that's probably going to be your big ticket item for this year. And we're working through developing a scope of work for that to get you a proposal. And then the Hoover Ridge Outdoor Recreation Center rounds out your capital improvements. On the CARP, that's things such as HVAC or painting or things of that nature. For the county side, $533,000 for capital asset replacement program. And on the schools, it's a little over $715,000. Personnel, on behalf of the staff, I want to thank the board. This budget has a 5% COLA increase, and also for your consideration of the 9.9% health insurance premium increase, the county picking up half of that, 50% will be passed along to the employee. Talk to RSA, that's nearing. One of your goals was to have a successful exit of Greene County. That's nearing the corner as we speak. Broadband we talked about. So going forward, really your last step, you've had your public hearing on April 11th. We're at the point now where I'm recommending adoption by the Board of Supervisors here tonight. And then kind of the last final phase of the budget is when you appropriate, and that's done via resolution in June. Therefore, monies is ready to be expended come July 1 of the start of the new fiscal year. And just lastly in the letter, I'd just like to thank those involved beyond the Board of Supervisors. Again, thank the board, Ms. Murray, our treasurer, Mr. Daniel, our commissioner of revenue, Mr. Fry. He was around for a little bit as well, providing wonderful assistance to Ms. Warren. I also like to recognize Ms. Warren for the development of this budget, as well as Ms. Struthers. Ms. Struthers, we couldn't do all of our benefit compensation projections and numbers without her. So you have a resolution prepared in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions, or again, the resolution is before you for adoption of the FY24 budget.
Ms. Warren, do you have any comments on this? Yes, ma'am. Anybody have questions from Mr. Weekly, Ms. Warren? Yes. We do have resolution 2023-4, which is the resolution to adopt the fiscal 2024 Madison County budget. What do y'all want to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the resolution 2023-4.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you both. Please pass that along to Tilly as well. And everybody else made that process easy. Opioid Abatement Authority grant. Weekly?
Yes, sir. And I kind of went and looked at last year when we started talking about the opioid settlement, once it was settled and we were notified of funds that would be directly paid to Madison County and or available. So basically, Madison County participated in a class action suit. Many pharmaceutical companies were involved, and Madison was part of that settlement. The settlement funds would come or be made available in two sources. One is a direct payment. We have a payment schedule, I think now it runs through like 15 or 18 years. And we'll have that scheduled. So that can be used on the local level. This year, the board agreed to provide $20,000 towards drug court. So that was use of the direct payments. The largest amount of money, and you can read through this, you probably already have, but in the summary of information, the large pot of money, when the Opioid Abatement Authority was formed by the state, those monies were retained by that authority, can be and will be made available via grant. So we've met with EMS, talked to them a little bit about their needs, the sheriff, talked with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and really overall, after attending a regional commission meeting, we're part of that commission. Mr. Monty leads that group. It was decided upon that let's reach out to the Community Service Board. I know they have a new name, but I'm going to use the Rappahannock Community Services for tonight. But really, they're the best to administer a program.
What's their
I'll,
new name?
I'll forward you. It's Encompass something.
Encompass.
I'll forward you that, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry.
Good.
I'll maybe find it during public comment and get it to you. But we felt like they were the best group, whether it's dealing with peer recovery or intervention or things of that nature. So they agreed to that. The Community Service Board cannot act as the fiscal agent as the grant is administered. A locality would have to do that. We're thankful for our neighboring county. Culpeper County has agreed to do that. So if the board is amenable and agreeable to this program, and I can, again, I talked about peer recovery and some of those other services they're providing. The board would have to approve the cooperative agreement, which you can see when you read through those counties I referred to that's in that region. Multiple counties have this on their agenda actually for tonight. So if the board agrees, it would be authorizing me to sign off. The grant would be applied by the CSB. They would administer it. Culpeper County is the fiscal agent. So any monies, all that stuff flows through and is dispersed to the program. As far as startup cost, I reached out to Mr. LeGraff. This version, the only difference between November is the total amount that they are applying for, and it doesn't list our percentage. I went back and looked at the November proposal, and they look at your population base. So Madison's population base would have been roughly 7.8% of the region. So if you did 7.8% on that total number, you're around 20,000. I'm just asking him, will that 20,000 start up from us or any other county for that matter, come through the grant funding, or is it a local? If it's local, we would just simply request we utilize the direct payment funds that we have from the opioid settlement. So we're not asking for any tax dollars. It's just using the program as it was designed when it was awarded. They wanted us to go for use for opioid abatement. So you have a cooperative agreement in your folder. I'm happy to entertain or answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions on this? Mr. Gregg, you have anything to add to this?
Not really. I went to a presentation in Richmond about it, and they're pretty clear that most of the settlements involve the fact that all of these funds need to be used to address the opioid addiction problem. And this would be an easy way to do it at the startup costs or for this program. And we've already received several thousand. I think we've received what, 15 or 16,000?
I think we were just under 40,000 or so forth when it first started.
Even better. That being the case, it seems like that's the obvious place to tap funds for this.
But, yeah, okay.
Questions?
But
Yeah.
when you would, I looked at what the Community Services Board, what their goal was, and what their strategy was to reach those goals. And it seems like a lot of case management to me, which is going to get real expensive. I mean, that's the only way to, to help these people is through case management, to follow them and help them along. And I'm telling you, that's going to be expensive down the line. I'm not saying it's not needed or we shouldn't do it. I'm just looking forward to this grant money that's in here, Sean, $530 million, is that Virginia's share? Or do you,
Bring up the board report, please. Is that what you're referring to?
summary of
Supervisor?
information,
No, that's,
the overall lawsuit settlement total $530 million.
So that would be, that was the total settlement, not for Madison County, but the total settlement.
That is for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
For,
Yeah,
okay, for
our
Virginia.
share is 0.16% of that.
Yeah, understood. So I'm saying going forward, the grant monies that are available may help with this for a number of years, but it's not going to be forever. And
Well,
I'm
and-
afraid opioid
remember, with
use is.
regard to that, we are not obligated to continue programs.
Right.
This is just a vehicle for us to spend the monies that are being given specifically so we run those programs. Something else to bear in mind, there is of this $530 million, Madison County share can be augmented by what they kept referring to as the gold standard. And that involves regional interagency cooperation. The advantage of having this handled the way we were handling it through the community services folks is that that puts us in line for some of that additional funding. We would rely on the professionals associated with those agencies to get the money. They seem to have a knack for it. And, we would simply, provide the customer, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that's necessary, I think, but boy. Yep. Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the opioid abatement authority cooperative agreement and authorize the county administrator to sign the agreement.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. All right. All right. Older Americans Proclamation, request by aging. What are you, recusing yourself?
Yeah,
Is that where you're at this point? You just can't
Should
get
I-
out? I don't know. We do these things because it's good to do, but
Okay.
I don't really understand this. If you really want the honest to God truth of the matter, I mean,
I don't either.
are the other 11 months of the year? Are we all feeling bad? I'm close to the 50 mark now, so I mean, it's not looking good for me too. I mean, what is this? We have this resolution in front of us. It's Older American Month 2023. We're gonna designate the month of May to older Americans, or older citizens. You got anything else here?
I just want to completely say this originated as a request from Aging Together. So I'm not proclaiming or recommending, it came from them. Certainly it's to answer your question. A lot of these, I don't want to just downplay it totally and say it's ceremonial. There is a part of that. But I think it's more of whether it's someone's vision or mission statement to raise awareness in the community is why these type of proclamations come before you. If there's a pleasure in the future of, we can do that too. But this was not originated me.
You're doing a terrific job explaining this. Just excellent in every way.
In that regard, the media coverage that this is going to get, particularly based on the last 45 seconds, I think will
There you go.
make sure to raise the profile for older Americans.
We're trying to emphasize our support. All right, we've got this resolution or this proclamation in front of us. What would y'all like to do here?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I
that's all right,
move
Jay.
that we approve the proclamation for declaring May the Older Americans Month. Uh-oh.
Second.
Yeah, well, all right. Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, May is Older American Month in Madison County. That's good. All right, moving on.
Unexpected vocab.
I
Yeah.
don't expect too much. The other 11 months is gonna be hard on you folks. Oh, I'm telling you. Good Lord. Madison County. Grays Mountain Lodge Music Festival permit application. Mr. Weekly, you see anything on here? Everybody
This,
together?
we appreciate the advancement on this. Number of anticipated attendees is 2,000. So again, anything over 750 is what our ordinance recognizes at 200, or excuse me, a class 2 event or category 2 event, which the board is required to, or it's required for board review and or approval. This has been circulated through our first response team. No reservation. We are going to look to add some additional maybe input information at request of the sheriff, where we clearly have a contact number for maybe the person overseeing the event. Sometimes the application can be filled out by the property owner or the event holder. So we'll look to do that. I think that's a reasonable request. But it's pretty standard. We're glad to see these events still continue on, tourism dollars. So this is just required based on the number of attendees to come before the board.
Anybody have any comments, thoughts, questions? Certainly glad to see Graves still doing these things and being successful at it. What would y'all like to do here?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the permit request from Graves Mountain Lodge for their music festival.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, let's do the next one, Young Farmers Tractor Pull Permit. Mr. Weekly?
Did you get that uploaded? Thank you very much. Yes, there's a tractor pull coming up on May 13th. Pretty standard. Tractor pulls are held at the Young Farmers grounds. Again, this is at the threshold that requires board approval. This application has been circulated amongst our first response team. It's reported back that there are no concerns. We are adequately prepared for it. So we wish all those well. We encourage folks to attend, and good luck for those who are participating. But this is a category 2, requires board review and or approval.
What would y'all like to do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Young Farmers application for the tractor pull.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? The young farmers are getting younger. We're attracting some high school type kids, and right out of high school kids, it's not 65 as an average age. All right. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify. Yeah, please.
No, I was just
Jim?
going to ask, Mr. Chairman, who is actually head of that?
Scott Henshaw.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, Scott Henshaw is, and Chris DeBoer is the treasurer at this point. They've got a good little group now. They really do. And the age has come down substantially. Yeah, and this is a change in date. Normally it's real close to the fair, trying to get ahead of everybody else this year. So that's kind of what it is. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, discussion. Mad Catz tax exemption request. Mr. Weekly?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Anytime, if it's a citizen and or agency, organization, nonprofit or not, makes a request for board consideration, I always review that and then obviously bring it to the board. Earlier on, representative from Mad Catz had reached out to the Commissioner of Revenue, basically making a request of tax exemption. Appreciate the commissioner's review and information provided. Being that Mad Catz is not recognized as an SPCA, that statute wouldn't be applied to allow for a tax exemption. We were asked to request the board for a public hearing to consider this. The board only decides to set public hearings. So that's definitely, up to the board if you want to do that. Staff is not recommending approval. However, that's not staff's statute of authority. I did ask Mr. Daniel to be here tonight in case you had any tax code questions. So basically discussion to see where the board would like to go.
Ms. Daniels, got any tax pertinent information on this?
Just what we were
Does the board have questions for either of these folks? And then Mr. Mitch is here. If y'all don't mind, I'd like to have him say a couple words at least. Any questions before we go to Mr. Mitch? Mr. Mitch, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I didn't know there was an Older Americans Month. And since I am one, I appreciate it coming to my attention. Mad Cats has been asked to pay tangibles tax this year. We got a note from the Commissioner of Revenue. And as I said, we requested we be exempted as a de facto SPCA, although I can certainly understand the reasoning. But I want to tell you a little bit about what we do. We provide low cost and mostly no cost spay and neutering to the citizens of Culpeper, Madison, and northern Greene County down to Ruckersville. No one has to pay anything for these services. If they want to donate, that's fine. We've also rescued over 1,000 kittens. The ones that survived, we've gotten adopted, which means they're not running around in the wild population having babies. We even have a neonatal unit with an incubator for the real young ones. We also deliver about 400 pounds of free cat food every month to people who can't afford it in some cases, and in some cases they're feeding wild cat colonies. And we've saved 2 human lives in the process. Clients who, one had a stroke and one collapsed for no reason. We just happened to be the only one who came along. We're funded entirely by fundraising and donations and grants. So basically, if we're paying a tax, all we're doing is taking money out of what would be being used to offer services. And I did conduct some informal contact with some other not-for-profits in Madison County. None of them are being asked to inventory their equipment and be assessed. So it just seems to me that maybe it's not being enforced across the board. So I would ask you to consider that as well. And I'd like to thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk.
Questions for Mr. Mitch? What would y'all like to do here?
Well, first off, I guess I'd like to ask Brian to respond to Mr. Mitch's last statement. I mean, there's about other nonprofits not being assessed. What? That's.
We go out looking to find out these nonprofits that are not.
Yeah. Right. Right. Sure. Yeah. Well, Mr. Mitch, I personally recognize the value of Mad Cats, and I thank you for what you do. I mean, I have seen you at the Syria store and made a donation on the spot. Madison definitely benefits from your efforts, but that said, there are approximately, according to Northern Piedmont Community Foundation, I think there's 16 other nonprofits in Madison that provide much needed services. And this is what makes Madison, all our nonprofits doing what they do. So with regard to a tax exemption, I personally can't consider it without giving consideration to all the others as well. And I don't think we're in a position to do that. So I'm not in favor of awarding a tax exemption, although I fully recognize what they do. As I've maintained, I've thought about this a whole lot. When I was on the planning commission and then first got on the board, if I was going to start a 501c3 and I needed the board's help, if I produce a business plan and I recognized before I even started that I need the board's help, I would come to the board and say, if I start this 501c3, here's the benefit to Madison, and would you support me? And if it's a yes or a no. I got a problem with people with organizations that start 501c3s and then come back to the board for help. I think that's upside down, even though I recognize what they do. So that's my position. But that's just
I
me.
agree with Cardi. I think what you do is great, but I think we'd be setting a precedence that we don't need to get into and don't want to get into at this time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all of that. And we have seen and we have turned down other nonprofits that have come down the same path. Not exactly on the tax exemption. I don't ever remember another group coming to us asking for another tax exemption. But I agree. I think it sets a precedence and opens up the door to where we kind of keep on going down the path. Yes, sir. Sure.
So what's the damage, Mr. Mish, on what do you got a bill sitting there for? Oh. Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Mr. Mitch. Information and correspondence, VDOT updates.
I think the last time, or at least what I'm tracking, while we were here talking about VDOT or projects or roads, Forest Drive was one that was brought up. VDOT has went out and looked at that road. And actually, it's about a 200-foot segment that's going to have to be excavated. The base is no good, essentially, so they're going to have to reestablish the base, repave, and then they'll have to go and reseal the road. I believe I forwarded you all that correspondence. So sometime in early May, that work will begin. That's unfortunate because I think that road was part of the 6-year plan just a couple of years ago. But I am appreciative of them being responsive and going out and addressing that. There was a speed limit sign that was missing. Unfortunately, the wrong sign was installed. I rode out that area yesterday. There was a VDOT truck there, so I'll go out later this week. Hopefully they replaced that. They were out there yesterday. And there's just a lot of, it can look like, I think they call it skin patching. I call it scabbing, but there's a lot of weird looking paving going on. I was told that's prepping the road for pavement. So a lot of the part of the county, whether it's Ridgeview, Beantown, heck, I think it goes all the way through Ridgeview, parts of Tibb Shop Road. If you see some of that, looks like, kind of pave here, pave there. They roll it out with a grader and then they come back and roll it with a roller. According to VDOT, they are prepping the road for pavement. So, and I did go back and check the 2023 paving schedule. Those roads are on the list. I do have a call with VDOT this week to further discussions on Turner Drive, excuse me. I'll report back. I don't want to give any false hopes or promises on that, but there may be a path forward. We're just having those final conversations with VDOT. And hopefully we'll be happy to have some positive outcome from that. I did drive Parish Road the other day. I thought I've been on every back road in Madison because I'm my whole life here. Mitchell Mountain was interesting, but Parish is narrow in some instances, but unless the county wants to get into revenue sharing, which means you dollar for dollar on that, I recommend staying away from that. I know that dust was a lot of concern, mainly at the end of that road. Speed of traffic. There's a lot of back and forth to that cemetery, so I think that's what maybe stirs a lot of it up. So unless the board directs me to go down and explore different revenue type of programs for that road, I'll steer clear of that. But certainly any maintenance items. VDOT did mention, I don't know if you can pull it up, but on our website, they did ask if we can kind of push citizens towards their ticket system. We've had that linked for some time, and I'll get Kim. It'll be a good thing to show you all in the general public. You go to How Do I and go down. There should be report a road problem. Oh, is your computer not? So it's, you can see it below, I'm sorry. She's got some kind of overview thing.
Here comes our tech fella. Come on.
Yeah, you can
tech
see it
fella.
just below that bottom blue line. It says report a road issue. When you click that link, it will take you to VDOT's ticket system. And it's basically a drop down or a fill menu. Go ahead and click that, please.
It's a genius.
And you can go through. Thank you, sir. This is why we don't ask Bruce to come. I'm just playing. So you can see, I'm just kidding. It says, how can we help you? And you go through, you just kind of a la carte, you select. I went through this the other day. We had a sign report down. I thought it was a VDOT sign. Turned out it was a 911 sign. But you get a email response when the ticket was entered. And then when they respond, whether it's their issue or not, you'll get another email. So.
And you've used this?
I used this recently.
How did you felt?
I got a response that evening. I don't know if it got a response, not that I'm an important guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got a response back because it does ask for your name. I think go through that a little bit, Kim. Keep going up. Just, no, I'm sorry. My up is, yeah. You go to continue. It's going to ask you for, I think, address, phone number. But I got a quick response. A citizen who called about a sign out of Shiftless Corner, and Brian has ordered that sign, by the way. We didn't have that in inventory. They got a quick response. So we want to push folks to this. It's not that I won't take a call. I'm just being respectful of VDOT's ticket system since we have one for like facilities and IT, and we'll see how it goes. However, I'm not discouraging people to call me. I always will reach out and get an answer. So that's what the ticket system looks like. It's on our website. It's linked to VDOT. You can also go to VDOT's page as well. So those are my road updates.
How long has this been available?
Mr. Barry, you linked that. How long? I know it's since you and I both been here.
Wow.
Yeah, because what I remember now, what started this was we would hear a lot of these. This is coming back now. I called Richmond. Richmond told me to call you, or I called Madison, and Madison said to call, not Madison, Madison headquarters, call Richmond. And we were like, where can they go to report? And that's what came out of it. So
We'll see how this goes. That's good. Yeah, great. All right, other questions on that one? What other VDOT issues do you have?
main thing's working on that Turner Drive. Just, you know, is it something that can move forward or not? That funding stream would look at unpaved, so it's a different stream than what I mentioned as far as revenue. So you don't get into that dollar to dollar. I'm still hammering them on paving. 230 East Orange Road is horrible. I won't give up on that. So we're going to talk about that and just paving over in general. And then we'll talk about my paving list of items that I have. Carpenter's Mill is one of those roads as well. It's just deteriorated. So that's all my VDOT updates, unless you have any questions or anything you'd like me to add to my list.
On John Myers?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir. I did receive the email you all received about John Meyer. I spoke to Mr. Moyer. I think there's like 3 residents that live on that road. There was concerns of speeding on that road. It is a gravel road. And I wouldn't really call it a cut through or as far as a shortcut, but it connects from Blue Ridge Turnpike and it goes right back around to Ayla Road. So you're not really shortcutting. If a speed limit is not posted on a gravel road by state statute, it's 35 miles per hour. The residents said there are no speed limit signs posted. Their concerns of speeding, you know, they and other families walk the road. Also, they complain about a culvert. They had a recommendation and they gave me some state code about maybe posting no through trucks. I talked a little bit about that. I don't believe the through trucks is an issue. Again, this road, if you look at it on GIS, I don't know who would be cutting through there. You'd have to have a reason unless you're farming or something to go there. So
if there's a speed problem, there are 3 people to blame. It is the mail person, it is FedEx, and UPS. Those are the only people that are driving on that road. It's not a cut through. It just goes around the hillside. There's like 1 residence that's actually on the rougher patch. I don't know how you'd speed on any of that road. I mean, it's just not. I mean, it's not there. I'm sorry. I mean, it seems like we need to talk to the mail people, see if they can slow down a little bit. Maybe that'll be the
I'm
solution.
gonna try to resolve their culvert issue, and maybe that'll show some good faith. I think they had said that's been out there for a while. You know, unless the board wants me to request VDOT to post, I don't even know if they'll do it, but if they'll post speed limit signs at each end. But again, if I'm looking at applying things just like we talked earlier, fairly, how many other roads are non-posted that they would have to go post? So I'll at least start with the culvert, and hopefully that good faith, and maybe people will slow down. Unfortunately, that tragic accident, I know that rerouted traffic over the weekend, but other than that, that road should be probably fairly quiet. So
You do need to tell VDOT to pick up the sticks on it. They had a bunch of
Pick up
I drove
sticks.
the dang thing. They had a bunch of sticks on the road. That's about it. I don't know how you speed, and I don't see it as a Sunday drive. Nah, it's not a problem. I don't know what's going on there. Public hearing, 6-year plan.
that is scheduled for May 9th. So you have your draft plan. That's what's been advertised. So unless you have any other feedback on that, it's really, part of the process here from the public. And if you like that plan, I believe that's passed via resolution, so we'll have one prepared there. The ORAG pilot program follow-up, we were going to have that for old business. You asked to have the Blue Ridge committee members come back. Both of our members are on vacation. They did commit to being available on the May 9th meeting. Shenandoah National Park already extended that program, but if you may recall, there was a report generated and you asked for the Blue Ridge committee to come in and just, I guess, give their thoughts and just in general. They're a good group.
They are.
They've been really at the forefront since that Blue Ridge committee was formed back in George Allen's days. That's how far that committee goes back. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I had for information and correspondence.
Those folks are pretty dang good. The only one I'm thinking here, I'm thinking back to VDOT. We've been talking about the J turn at Shelby for, years now, years. And we know it's like a smart scale and they're funding it with Telefee or any other names that they can just come up with. Are they doing it soon, or is it within the next several years, or what is the deal?
I'm gonna do a quick search, but I will get an answer for you and email that out to the board. It's my understanding that will begin this year. It did make it through the smart scale, so all that's been decided. Unlike the roundabout, it's still got to be decided by the CTB in June sometime. This one has already been approved, so I will get you that formal date.
I thought that they said either a year ago or maybe 2 years ago that it was fully funded.
It is. For some reason, August sticks out in my mind, but I don't just want to throw that out because I don't have it in front of me. I guess I just did throw it out, but let me go back, members of the board, and find that answer and email it to you.
Anybody else have comments on Blue Ridge Committee or any VDOT issues?
It won't be as long as it has been.
Well, that is correct.
So the pilot program, people get lost all the time trying to get to the ORAG parking lot. So, they pull over, they see me, and I've asked half a dozen people, so you got a ticket? Oh yeah, it was no problem. I went, they all had tickets, every one of them, and it was no big deal to them. So that's a good thing. I was expecting
this kind of program you would expect like massive opposition to. I've heard nothing about it.
Right.
I thought you were going to say you're collecting the fee.
Yeah, I got a ticket for you.
A good one. The big problem up at Old Rag was during COVID and the first couple months when it got nice out. After everybody had been locked down, there was a massive run on Old Rag. We had 5,000 or 6,000 people up there in a day, and that's a little much. This hopefully Bruce and Mr. Ballard come and they'll tell us about what's going on with Shenandoah National Park and then this program specifically.
Yes, sir.
Other comments? All right, public comment. Public comment. Public comment. All right, we do have a closed session. Thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that the board convene in a closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A1 for personnel, 2.2-3711A7 for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, and 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you.